Jai Hind everyone. My name is Aman Gupta and I am working here as an assistant professor in Akgec Engineering College. My subject code is Cybersecurity BMC 106. Today we are going to cover following topics: email security, types of email threats, and what type of email security we have to provide, and what are the ways by which we can implement email security. And we discuss about security risk analysis, different factors that are responsible for risk analysis, different type of assets and vulnerabilities. We all type of risk we discussed in this topic, security risk analysis. So first of all, we start with the email security. This topic we have already discussed uh, in our last lecture. Now we continue about some more details about this. So first of all, what is email security? It is the practice of protecting email accounts and our communication, and we have to protect this from unauthorized users which can lead to the loss, or the data can be compromised or altered and modified by the unauthorized users or hackers. So organizations can enhance their security, email security posture by establishing different type of policies. They can implement different type of rules, their regulations, and can define different type of policies, and they can also use tools to protect against malicious threats. What type of threats? It can be malware, spam, phishing attacks. So what are malwares? Malwares are the security threats like viruses, worms. This type of malwares or malicious software can damage the entire system by giving some viruses, by entering some put some threats or virus to the system. So cyber criminals target email because it is an easy way to hack their accounts, the users accounts and devices, and it relies in large part on the human error. All the communication that we are doing in today's world is through email, and we generally send our general messages through email, and we open that attachments very frequently. So it is a very easy way to target the end users. Now, these are some types of email threats like data exfiltration. It is the unauthorized transfer of data from an organization. Okay, it can be done manually or by through some malicious programming. So, data can be transferred from one place to another or one system to another through a network. Unauthorized transfer of data, it can be done by manually some person sitting on a system and transfer that data, or there may be some line of codes that can be used to transfer a authentic data of an organization to some malicious, provide that data to some malicious users or the hackers. Email gateways help make sure businesses avoid sending sensitive data without authorization, which could lead to a costly data breach. So, it is very important for an organization to integrate some email gateways that will have, that will include some rules and set of policies that protect the data, and it also helps to send sensitive data, to avoid that nobody can send the sensitive data without the proper authorization of a concerned person, which could lead to a costly data breach, and it will definitely, it is a very costly um data breach. Now, next is malware. What is malware? Malware is a malicious software, and its primary aim is to damage or disrupt the computers. The main work of this malware or malicious software is nothing else but there are some lines of codes that intentionally damage the functionality of an organization, of a program, of an application, that is called the malware. Common type of malware include viruses, worms, ransomware, spyware. These are all the types of the malwares or malicious softwares. Now next is spam. Spam is an unsolicited messages that sent in bulk and without the recipient's consent. Without taking the recipient's contents, we have received an email in our accounts. Businesses use spam email for commercial purposes, for advertisement, etc. So they organizations send some promotional emails to the mail IDs of different type of persons who are somehow visiting their websites, or the data that they have been collected from social media or somewhere else. Scammers use spam to spread malware, trick recipients into divulging sensitive information, or extort the money. So, by using this type of spam, they send some spam emails, and by which, if the user or if the receiver click on that mail, maybe it contains some link to some fake website through which uh, they can get the some sensitive or personal information of the sender or person who click on that mail, and they can also extort money, or can have the credentials of personal information, as well as their debit card, credit card, this type of information. They can also have that data by using these malwares, these spams, these links that they have been sent as spam to their emails. Now next is impersonation. What is impersonation? Impersonation means to act like someone else. Occurs when cyber criminals pretend to be a trusted person, and this happened when a user, a hacker, pretends as an legitimate user of an organization, or act as an legitimate organization to secure money or data via email. Means a person, suppose a website has been created with the name of Amazon, and in place of O they placed A and make a Amazon, and create a fake website with all the labels, all the structure of the genuine or legitimate website. So they can fool the users by giving some offers or discounts on some products, and if the user get click on the link to purchase that product, they can steal their information, their debit card, their credit card information. They can have the OTPs also. So by that they can cheat the users. Now next one is the phishing. Phishing is the practice of pretending to be a trusted person or organization to trick the victims into disclosing their valuable information. So, in phishing, also, the users, the hackers act as the legitimate users, and they uh, get users get the effect that they are the legitimate users, they are the trusted ones, and once the user is accepted that, they will provide their credentials or personal information. So there are different type of phishing attacks like spear phishing, wishing, whaling. These are all the types of the phishing attacks. Now there are some ways by which we can implement email security. We can use a strong password. These are some rules and policies that have been defined by an organization to provide security in their organization. and they must use this for making their system secure. Turn on multi-factor authentication by having some pin or password. They can use multi-factor authentication, deploy data loss prevention, DLP solutions, implement phishing email filtering, that mails that are received for a user has been filtered against any type of that any type of attachment, if it contains any type of attachment that has been infected. Scan for malicious attachments, train employees that what are correct and what are incorrect to take that measures. Perform frequent security monitoring by having some antivirus scan or that type of solutions they can take to uh, secure their systems. Now next is security risk analysis. This is also known as the risk assessment, and it is fundamental to the security of any organization. So it is essential to ensuring that controls and expenditure are fully commensurate with the risk to which the organization is exposed. It is very important to identify all the risk that has been attached, that has been implemented with the security. So it is very important to identify that type of risk. So there are some points that we need to discuss. That first of all, what is a risk? So risk is a quantified measure of the likelihood of a threat. So the likelihood of a threat, that this make that type of part, that part can damage our system, this type of security we needed. So this is called the risk. Now next is risk analysis. In risk analysis, what we do, it involves the identification and the assessment of the levels of the risks. And how can we calculate it? We can calculate it by having the values of the assets. First of all, when we are doing risk analysis, it is important that we identify that in an organization or in a scenario, what the assets we have. First of all, we have to identify that. Now next is, what are the threats to the assets? The assets can be damaged by what type of threats? So we have to identify that what type of threats can damage our assets. Now third one is their vulnerabilities and likelihood of the exploitation. Then we can assess that what type of vulnerabilities and what type of threats, what are the chances that they can damage our system. So what is risk management? Risk management involves the identification and selection and adoption of security measures. It includes all the three parts, that is first of all identification, next one is the selection, and third one is what the type of security measures that can be adopted to manage the risk. So first of all, identified risks to the assets and reduction of these risks to the acceptable levels. So how can we reduce that risk that cannot damage our whole system? So what is the factor that we need to implement the risk management? We need this risk management to minimize the occurrence of or likelihood of the threats. So a reduction of these risks is the main motive behind the risk management. Now, what are the goals of risk analysis? As we already discussed, that first of all assets have to be identified. Now, next is all threats have been identified and their impact on assets has been valued. We have to, first of all, we have to identify the assets that we have in our organization or in a part that need to be safe from the risk, security risk. And next is, we have to identify all the threats, and if that threat occurs, then to how much extent it can damage our system. So their impact on assets should also be valued. All vulnerabilities have been identified and assets. It is important that all the vulnerabilities and likelihood of threats have been assessed and identified. So it is also very important. Now there are some common terminologies that has been associated with security risk analysis. First of all, as we already discussed, first of all, assets. These are some common terminologies. Threats, we should know the meaning of that terms. Vulnerabilities, countermeasures that we required to implement the security risk analysis, expected losses, and what are the impact. Now, key elements of risk analysis are impact statement. First of all, we need to have the impact statement, effectiveness measures, and then the recommended counter measures. So, these are the key elements of the security risk analysis. Now, risk assessment. What are the business objective of risk assessment? As we already discussed, focus on key assets, protect against likely threats, prioritize future actions, balance cost with benefits, and justify the appropriate one. So, the main concept behind the risk assessment is to find out the threats, find out, first of all, find out our assets, then list out all type of threats, and then what we need to do to protect from these threats, and prioritize our future actions, that what we need to do first. Then balance cost, means what type of financial aids that we needed to implement this, and then justify the appropriate. All the things should be in place before implementing all these things. Now, what can be the risk impact? So, monetary losses, what are the risk impact? If a threat enters into our system, first of all, there can be a monetary losses, financial issues, loss of personal privacy, data can be lost, loss of commercial confidentiality, legal actions can be taken, public embarrassment. If our if our personal data has been publicly displayed on some websites, then it is public embarrassment also. Danger to personal safety also, if some type of data, if we are posting something on social media platforms regularly, then maybe some hackers can track that data on regular basis, and can it can danger to our personal safety also. Now there are some steps that need to implement the security risk analysis. So then first step is identify and evaluate assets. So this is the very first steps, to list all the things that could be affected by a security problem, not only monetary but also goodwill and the customer satisfaction. It is very important part of the security risk analysis management, that we need that all the assets as well as the problems that can affect the security, these has to be listed out, and it can be monetary, as it sets that financial, monetary, and the customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is very important part of this. Identify applicable threats. This is the second step of this process. It involves the identification and description of threats, that how often they are likely to occur. So in this step, we need to identify all types of threats, and at what time they maybe occur into the system. It also needs to be identified. Now, third step is identify, describe vulnerabilities. The level of risk is determined by analyzing the interrelationship of threats and the vulnerabilities. Threats are the Threats are the process or virus that maybe affect our system, and vulnerabilities are the loopholes in the system by which threats can exploit these vulnerabilities and can enter to our system. The level of vulnerabilities decreases as the countermeasures increases. So as vulnerability decreases, when we increase our countermeasures, when suppose we we uh, install some antivirus in our system, then definitely the likelihood of vulnerabilities decreases, and when vulnerabilities decreases, by default likelihood of threats also decreases. Now next is paired threats and vulnerabilities. Threat is any action that has the potential to cause a negative impact or can affect our system negatively. If there were no threats to computer systems, there would be no need to concern about computer system vulnerabilities. So these are these two things are interrelated to each other: threats and vulnerabilities. So if there were no threats in the computer system, then if we have some vulnerabilities in the system, then it made no effect. Now next one is step 5: determine the impact of the threat occurrence. So when the exploitation of vulnerability occurs, the asset suffers a loss. If some threat exploit the vulnerability, if some threat can take advantage, if took the advantage of some vulnerability, then definitely our assets would face the loss. Losses can be of any type, means disclosure of some personal information, destruction of data, and also the denial of service, means that information is not exist in our system, or the server does not have the uh, sufficient resources to reply on that request. Now next one is the in place countermeasures. All the countermeasures should be listed out that can be implemented in the risk analysis process. Now step 7 is the determine residual risk, means conclusions. So refers to the level of risk that remains after giving credit for in the place countermeasures. So after listing all the countermeasures, it is important to take care of all the residual risk also. In step 8, identify additional countermeasures and recommendations. To identify the most effective and least costly way to reduce risk to an acceptable level. It is a one more level of the uh, countermeasures that can be added to our system. Now the step 9 is a prepare a risk analysis report. In last but not the least, it is important to have to prepare a risk analysis report to identify the information assets at risk and attach a value to the risk. After the analysis is complete, a report may be prepared for documenting the whole risk assessment. Now there can be some problems of measuring the risk. Businesses normally wish to measure in money, but many of the entities do not allow this. Means valuation of assets, value of data and in-house software, no market value, value of goodwill and customer confidence. So when we measure the risk, this can be have some problem. Likelihood of the threats. How relevant, if we talk about likelihood of threats, then we need to analyze that how relevant is past data to the calculation of future probability. That if some virus attack that our system to damage it, and we installed some antivirus, then what is the likelihood of the same thread, same virus. It is possible that this virus again attack our system. So it is, we cannot say that the same virus can will attack our system later also. The nature of future attack is unpredictable. Actions of future attackers are unpredictable. So all these we cannot predict this in a on the basis of the past experience. We cannot predict that the same type of attack we can have in our system. So it is very important question that we should tackle when we implement security risk analysis. Measurement of benefit from security measures. What can be the benefits when we measure these security risks? What are the problems with the difference of two approximate quantities? How does an extra security measure affect a probability of a attack? So these are some questions that we need to answer before implementing. These questions should be clear in our mind before implementing any type of security risk analysis. So that's all for today. Thank you.